Hey kids, you're listening to the internet's wettest podcast about video games, consoles, and pancakes. The SML Podcast.
What's up, everybody? This is the SML Podcast. I am your host, Joe. Joining for this episode, we've got Aki at the beginning. How are you doing? How's things going?
They're going. We'll just leave it at that.
Leave it at that. We're going to have some friends joining later on in the episode. We have some reviews to take care of and blah, 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 all that fun stuff. But we're starting things off with a fun one. AJ Grant Scrutton of Delilah Studios. How are you doing today?
I'm very good, thank you. Thank you for having me on.
It is a thrill to have you back on. You came on a couple of years ago to chat about Battletoads.
Yeah, 2020. Yeah.
And now you were back. You went from Battletoads to Disney.
I mean, it's a logical step, right? You do some anthropomorphic toads and then you do a anthropomorphic mouse. So
So the game's Disney Illusion Island. For the people who don't know what this thing is, give us the sales pitch.
Yeah, sure. Look, it's, I'm not here to be a marketing person. It is a wonderful, fun game about fun. So it's a wonderful player, local cooperative platformer. It's got a little bit of Metroidvania flavour to it in terms of the structure. And you play as Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse, Donald Duck and Goofy. They've been tricked into coming to an island to help out some wonderful, cute creatures called a token. And you have to go around and recover 3 mysterious books. It's really just about the joy of movement and having a good time.
And humour.
Well, I wrote it, so I can't say that too much. I'd like to think people get some fun out of the story and the writing. Definitely the stuff that Kelsey wrote. But yeah, it's definitely, it's what you'd expect from a modern Mickey and Friends adventure.
It's just goofy, fun, and entertaining. I put a couple of hours into it. Unfortunately, Aki hasn't played it because she doesn't have a Switch. Which I'm going to just get to this right off the bat. Is this coming to more platforms in the future, or is this locked to the Switch? Right
now, all we've been thinking about is Switch is the best way to put it. We've been very lucky that we've been very well supported by Nintendo. So kind of our plan from day one was, how do we make a really great Mickey Mouse experience for a modern Nintendo platform? That's kind of where all our efforts have gone so far.
That makes sense. I have to ask. We have to ask. Are there any kind of Tom's here. Should I drag him in?
Yeah. Tom can join us. Yeah, Tom can join us.
Drag him in. Hello, Tom. How are you?
Hey, folks. How's everyone doing?
Doing pretty good. We're mid-interview. I'll be sure to edit this part out. Spoilers. I didn't. Just wanted to say hi and get you into here so that you can observe as you would like.
No worries at all. I'll be here lurking in the background.
Sounds good. Did you want us to address you at all during the show, or just lurk and quiet?
I am absolutely a silent partner. Yeah, I'm not involved with the interview. Just here to listen in. So all good. Thank you.
I'm just gonna keep dragging Tom in. I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna pass this question over to Tom.
I'm only here to shut down anything controversial. So as long as you stay online, don't say anything crazy. It's all good.
Tom, if that's what they told you have the ability to do, then I can only apologise that they've put you in a job destined for failure.
Oh my god! It's 8 a.m. in LA right now. Don't do this to me this early.
It's always time for controversy, so I'm always ready to go.
Oh dear!
Controversy creates cash. Now I feel like I have to leave this stuff in because it's funny.
Do it.
So Switch game through and through. What kind of design implements did you make to cater to the Switch and to the unique features of the console?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the big things for us was, how many buttons are we going to use? And Actually, I did listen to your last show, and I heard there was a really big Battletoads fan on the show. I can't remember who it was. Someone that used some really colourful language about what they thought about our Battletoads.
I censored it though. I tried to keep it clean.
But as they'll be
Tim's a wild card, so.
As they'll be able to tell you, we used every single button and then some on the pad for that game. So like we used every face, shoulder, trigger, and then modifiers. And so kind of when we came into Illusion Island, because we knew we were building it for Switch day one, our kind of real goal was like, okay, we're making, a family game. We're making something we want people to play together. Let's not force people to go buy a load of extra Joy-Cons. Let's design this so that it can be played on a single horizontal Joy-Con. So that actually became like a core tenet of the controls for the game. We wanted it to be like, okay, you've got an analog stick. Let's assume you've only got the 4 face buttons and then maybe the shoulder buttons every now and then for a menu. And actually, I would say that having those constraints made us create something a lot tighter control-wise. Like, I came out much happier with the controls on this than I ever did on Battletoads. And I think a big part of that was because we did set ourselves that challenge of the single Joy-Con.
Of making it more approachable and easy for... Yeah, that's something I love about the Switch, is having the 2 controllers. So if you got a game and you got a friend around, you can just pop a controller off, give him one, and go to town.
Definitely, exactly that.
And this is a game that supports, 4 players?
Yes, yep. So up to 4 players in local co-op.
And how does that work? Like, what kind of mechanics are in the game that allow for the 4 players? Is it a co-op heavy game, or is it something where you could still get through and do everything by yourself? It's just more fun with friends.
Yeah, I mean, the kind of one of the core pillars we had. So whenever we start a game, we figure out like what are our 3 pillars we want to base the whole game around. And one of our core pillars for this was this concept of awesome alone, better together. So we wanted to create something that was, if you played it solo, it was brilliant. It felt really good and really rewarding. But that actually playing it with friends or family or, whoever's playing it on the couch with you, it just added something to it. So with that in mind, we didn't design any like multiplayer blockers. We instead looked to see how we could help each other through multiplayer. So in the multiplayer version only, there are mechanics for rope drop. So you can drop a rope the entire length of the screen, and anyone else can jump up and climb up it. So it kind of means that players who aren't necessarily as good at some of the platforming challenges, their partners can kind of drop a rope for them and they can climb up that. We've got leapfrog, which is just a little bit of fun. So one player can crouch, the other players can run and jump off their back and get a bit of a longer jump. And then we have our hugging mechanic, which is where you can literally ask and give a hug, and it will give both the hugger and the huggee an extra heart of health, which they will get temporarily until they take damage.
I absolutely love that.
Oh,
that is
thank you.
Cute.
Yeah, we actually had the hug mechanic in before it did anything. So like we were like, oh, what's really Mickey and Friends? And we're like, oh, hugging. Like, and then we did the animations and we're like, oh my God, this feels great. And then we're like, oh yeah, we should probably give it some sort of function. We can't just be like, hugging is great. So yeah, I think hugging was probably in the game for a good 4 months before it actually did anything.
Can you hug in single player, or is there any way to
I'm afraid
get health
not.
back in single player besides?
You can get health. Yeah, there's health pickup still in both single and multiplayer, and very generous checkpointing. But yeah, I'm afraid the hugging mechanic is only there for multiplayer.
I'm gonna have to play this with my wife so we could hug.
Yeah, we like
She's
we're bringing
looking at me
people
weird,
together.
like, what the hell? What are you talking about? Sperry Berry Beast in chat is asking, what is there in terms of combat and battling in the?
There is none in terms of combat. It is a combat-free experience. So there are boss encounters in which you have to kind of utilize your platforming skills and the abilities you've got, but there's no direct combat in the game. We just felt it. So to be honest, there was, and then there wasn't. Like, we kept that posted up on the wall for a long old time. And then we kind of realized that Grant and I, the lead designer, we kind of sat down and had the conversation finally of like, why is combat even up on the wall? And the only answer we had was, oh, well, we're inspired by Metroidvanias and Metroidvanias have combat. And we were like, that's a really, really lame reason to put a feature in a game just because other people have done it. So we kind of went, okay, well, like, let's not restrict the team. Let's just let the team kind of do some enemy design. And I think we designed 10 enemies, and only 2 of them you could jump on their heads. And we were like, man, like, we're designing this game and we're trying to design combat out of it without even actually making the decision. So we kind of just said from that point, like, it's got to go. Like, we don't want it in the game. We're only keeping it in the game because we think we should. It's worse in multiplayer because nothing's worse if you're playing 4-player than the first person jumps on an enemy and then the rest of you don't have to do anything with it. So really our kind of approach with the creatures of our world is that you just have to avoid them and use your different skills to get better at avoiding.
So it's an avoid 'em up.
It's an avoid 'em up, yeah. we did the beat 'em up and some other stuff, and now we've done the avoid 'em up.
What led to the visual style in this game? Because I adore the animation style in this game. Is it meant to be something more of like the new gen cartoons or like the retro style mixed together? Like it feels like so many genres mixed.
Yeah, I mean, it's our influence is, I mean, we're very lucky first off the bat, right? We've got nearly 100 years of materials to look at when you look at Mickey's history, right? So it was really important for us. We wanted to make something which was unique to our game, which made the world of Monoth feel unique, but it had to feel authentically Disney and authentically Mickey. So we dug through the archives. Like, I think I pretty much have watched everything Mickey Mouse has been in over the course of starting this project. I've read thousands of pages of books. Our art director, Lucy, and her art team did the same. They really dug into kind of what is a Mickey experience, what is a Disney experience. And then I think kind of you can almost see kind of with the modern cartoons, like the character style we have, I think you can see the same influences coming through. So you're almost seeing, like, I love that 30s Mickey, you know, the white-faced Mickey where he was very cheeky. And I think you see that in the modern shorts, that influence as well. But for us, we wanted to make designs on the characters that were respectful of the legacy but fit for purpose. So we knew we pulled the camera out quite a lot. So we wanted to highlight features of the characters. So, like, our characters have bigger hands and feet than a lot of the traditional Mickeys do. In fact, a little Easter egg for you. If you look at Goofy's feet are actually the same shape as his face in our game. Like, they're almost the same silhouette. So have a look at that next time you get a chance. But we wanted to take those old influences and then we wanted to make it fit for purpose. So we've got kind of the longer legs and kind of the more ready-to-go posing. And then obviously with Minnie, love Minnie's traditional polka dot dress, love the high heels. But look, Minnie's no idiot. She's not going to be wearing that outfit to go climbing around mountain tops, right? So we're the real one of kind of. Well, I mean, if anyone could, Minnie could. But, like, you know, she's gone for safety first here. She's put on the new jumper. She's got the flats on. So we very much got to design versions of these characters for the game purpose. And then with the world, it was interesting because, you know, the kind of modern, and it's not even modern to be honest, cartoons for the last 20 odd years, they have this lovely, almost deliberate disconnect where you have this clear, very kind of flat shaded style on characters, and then you'll have these deeper, kind of more textured backgrounds. And you see it in the modern shorts, you see it in stuff like Gravity Falls, and it's a great technique and it looks wonderful. But for us, when we hit that style, we had some real clarity issues. And throughout the process of the game, we were very aware of this. We knew we were going to solve them. We just weren't so sure how. And then we kind of put in the lighting and the fog layer and it all really came together. But I think really kind of our goal was like, how do we capture something that feels familiar but also feels brand new at the same time? You know, I can't draw even a stick man, so I'm comfortable in saying, like, I love the art. I'm very proud of the art team. I think the game is absolutely beautiful, and I'm so over the moon with what they did.
Yeah, I can agree there. I think they just knocked it out of the park visually. And the designs fit the personalities of the characters so well. Like, Minnie, normally you would think of her as, like, possibly the damsel in distress or who you have to rescue. And she's just, like, a butt-kicking, ready-to-go, like, yes, she's going to do it herself and no one's going to stop her in this game. And she plays well. Goofy is ridiculously goofy, as you would expect. But I think my favorite bit of humor in this game is how everybody just constantly dumps on Donald Duck. Like even the guy, like, oh no, there's no picnic, and he's like, what? There's no picnic. I'm out of here. He's like, but there's a reward. Okay, you got me. And then the guy with all the upgrades, just always the worst thing possible for Donald, and I love it.
Yeah, he's such a wonderful character. Like, and I think I don't want to go too Disney nerd on all of this stuff, but like, there's just such a wonderful history of kind of where almost Disney, like, and we're going back decades upon decades, right? Disney lost their way with Mickey a bit, and Donald really kind of stepped up and almost became the new favourite for a while. And it still is. Like, Donald is actually still popular in some regions of Europe than Mickey is. And what I love about him, is like, it's like his old theme song says, who gets stuck with all the bad luck? No one but Donald Duck. And he's just so fun to write for. He's brilliant because, I mean, first of all, Tony Somo is an incredible voice actor and the performance is just brilliant. But because he's so cantankerous and gets wound up so easily, it's very fun to do things like, oh, hey, Minnie, here's an amazing pickaxe for climbing a mountain. Oh, here you go, Donald, here's a plunger. And you almost see the expression on his face where he's angry, but he's just accepting that this is his life. And I think touching on 40, I think I can relate to that very heavily. I do feel like sometimes I get given the plunger.
We are the plunger carriers in life.
That's it.
I would wear one on my head, but I think all of ours are dirty right now, and I'm not going to do that. It wouldn't be worth the laugh for the Twitch stream. What kind of Disney stuff do you find the most inspiration from? Like, if you weren't doing Disney Illusion Island, what property would you love to do a Disney game for?
Oh, I mean, the list is endless, honestly, and I'm not just saying it's Disney. No, they know I never lied to them. We kind of, especially after Battletoads, we really loved working with existing worlds. So kind of as a studio, for the better part of the last 6 years or so, we always do this activity where when we start to think about what we want to do next, we just write a list of IP we'd want to work with. And the reality is that over the last half a decade, more and more of that is owned by Disney. And part of that is because we're Disney fans, so we naturally go that way. And part of that is because Disney owns nearly all the good IP in the entire world. So there is a plethora. Like, there are so many wonderful characters. I mean, I know I get pitches internally a lot that the team would love to do something with Donald. I think I've mentioned, we'd love to do, like, what would a Quackshot or a Maui Mallard look like today? Could you do a combination? But like doing a modern Donald game, or even like a Darkwing Duck game. There's just a lot of fun in Duckburg to be had. But then I also think there's a great ton of stuff in features. I think there is something enticing about doing a mixed IP game where you're getting to take like lots of different worlds and put them together, but also it's terrifying. So there's a ton of stuff from Disney Animation Studios, a ton of stuff from Pixar, and then obviously you throw Marvel and Lucas into the equation as well, and it's almost endless, right? But I think if you were to come into the studio today and speak to certain people and say, like, hey, post Illusion Island, what would you like to be doing? I think a lot of them would talk about the Ducks.
Personally, if I had a studio at my whim to create something, I want an open world action adventure set in the Hercules universe.
I mean, that first Hercules game on PS1 was incredible, for one thing. And that is a fantastic film. Like, that's one of my favorite. Like, that film. Emperor's New Groove and Lion King are probably my top three. Oh man, like, we are mad Emperor's New Groove fans here. Like, we are mad. Like, Disney has heard me talk about Emperor's New Groove so much. It's just so much fun. It was really interesting. I was kind of, we've been enjoying this, we're already into the next thing, but we've been kind of enjoying this release window of Illusion Island. And I was speaking to Kelsey, who I wrote Illusion Island with, and who worked on Battletoads. And we were talking about Disney films, and she told me she'd never watched Emperor's New Groove. And so I said to her, look, you just got to go watch it. Like, before our lives get busy again, take advantage and, watch the film. And she messaged me this week and told me how much she really enjoyed watching it. It's it's just such a funny film, and I think it's really rooted at like our generation. Like I don't think anyone that much older than us or anyone that much younger than us necessarily appreciates it the same way we do.
Aki, you're a bit younger. What do you think of Emperor's New Groove?
Oh, I love it.
Okay, so it does.
Well, you've got taste.
Yeah, sometimes.
I always have good taste.
Aki, what Disney movies are you a fan of? What are some of your favorites?
Oh man, if we're talking about newer ones, I really like Brave. How to Train Your Dragon, I think was
That's
also...
not Disney.
It's not? Okay.
No.
Sometimes I get confused because I just like all the animated stuff.
I mean, we're
Frozen.
kids at heart, so
Yeah.
that's why I still play
Frozen,
video
Moana,
games.
those are like the main three from the newer stuff that I'm like, I absolutely love these three.
Yeah, I mean, Frozen is fantastic. Like those, I mean, they're all absolutely brilliant. To be honest, like I adore Encanto. I really, really loved watching Encanto. But yeah, those Frozen films I just think are really, really good. And as crazy as it sounds, considering how much they're worldwide blockbusters, I actually think they're massively underrated by like people my age. Like I think people my age have almost avoided them a little bit, but they are just brilliant films.
Yeah, I've only seen the first of the Frozen movies, but I do have the second one.
It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. They did a great job. Like, sequels are really hard. Sequels for a Disney epic feature are even harder. Like, you know, how do you follow one of the biggest movies of all time? But I mean, I don't know how people are going to feel about this. I actually think Frozen 2 is better than Frozen 1. So, I really enjoy both of them.
I was a Wreck-It Ralph fan for the new stuff.
Oh, I love that.
I would love to see, like, every game company possible come together under the Disney banner and put out a Wreck-It Ralph game that just stays true to the multiverse and has all these cool cameo characters in it.
I mean, it's cool. It's basically the video game version of Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Like, it is worlds coming together that we may never see ever come together again. It was brilliant. Yeah, I really enjoyed that film.
Speaking of Roger Rabbit, did you see the new Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers movie?
I did indeed, yes. What did you think of it? I know what I think of it. What did you think of it?
I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was a fun throwback. I don't think it's like a great movie, but it's a hilarious movie, and that it's what fun. It needed to be as a throwback to a Disney afternoon cartoon. It was just over the top fun, and an ugly Sonic might be the greatest character redemption arc in movie history.
So good. I love it. I mean, you know, as someone who spends all his time writing a bunch of self-referential meta humor for his games, I very much appreciated that film. I thought it was a lot of fun, and those cameos in that film are just so they're so sparingly used to such high effect. It's brilliant.
Beautiful stuff. Here's a fun question. How did you get tied up with Disney for this game? How did you get together and get your proposal out there?
Yeah, so you first of all you have to do a rain dance, and then you have to sacrifice 5 lambs, and then So we worked with Disney in 2015. We were originally making a title together, and then in 2016, just the kind of landscape of games changed, and kind of that meant that Disney changed their business model to be more focused on licensing, and so kind of our game went away. And then when we were making Battletoads, it was around like summer of 2019, you know, so kind of a year out from Battletoads coming out. We had to start thinking about what was next for us. And we were in a meeting and we almost jokingly said, oh, wouldn't it be funny to like just get on a call with Disney? And then we were kind of like, why don't we? Like, why don't we just get on a call with Disney? Like, times have moved on, you know, it never ended on bad terms. So like, we jumped on a call and it was really lovely, you know, and it was just a really natural conversation. And we took them through kind of how we've developed as a studio and how we've improved. You know, one of the big areas I've improved on and still have a lot of room to improve on is I was very, very defensive about feedback. Like, I would almost take every bit of feedback we ever got from our publishers as an insult. And, you know, I've learned now a lot more, thanks really to the hard work of my partners that have put up with me, to like take a breath and like don't reply instantly. And, we wanted to show Disney how we'd moved on and how we handled that, like how we accepted our flaws, improved on them, and put processes in place to mitigate them. And they spoke to us about kind of their vision for games and what they're looking to do. And besides that, we just chatted, and like it was just like, it was weird. It felt like a bunch of old friends getting back together. And the reason that was strange is because I hadn't even met a lot of the people in the room on that call. Like, we hadn't crossed paths previously, or they were people new to Disney, but it all just felt right and familiar. And we kind of left the call saying, like, we'd love to do something with Mickey and Friends. They said they'd love us to do something with Mickey and Friends. So we kind of went away. We started riffing on ideas. We're just having back and forth conversations with Disney where I was like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. How about this? And I was saying to someone the other day, I don't ever remember there being a formal green light. Like, I don't ever remember the meeting where it was like, this is the do or don't meeting. It's kind of like, I remember the kickoff and I remember some chats. And then the next thing you know, I'm making a Mickey Mouse game. So yeah, it all happened. It was forced because I wanted to get on the call with them. But from that point onwards, it all just felt very natural and collaborative.
That's very cool. Do you think it could lead to potential for more Disney games? Is that something that has been discussed? Or are you guys still like, this game just released, leave us alone, we want a nap?
I mean, I'd love to be able to take a nap. No, like, I would love to do more stuff with them. I'd like to think they'd love to do more stuff with us. I think this has been a great partnership and has worked well. We've still got a little team kicking away on Illusion Island. We're keeping an eye on what players are saying, making sure that if anything comes up, we can kind of fix them, doing some nice quality of life updates. So just so that we can, for us, Illusion Island isn't something we're just going to kick out there and leave. We want to make sure that if there are ways for us to improve it or fix any problems, that we can do that. But yeah, beyond that, I think, a lot of it, not to get into the market in terms of it, I think a lot of it's going to come down to how Illusion Island gets received in terms of success, like in terms of units sold. I think if the game does well enough, I think there's an argument to be made for us to maybe do some DLC and talk about more titles. But really the focus we have right now is just making sure we really get Illusion Island to the audience we want to be playing it, and that we make sure that we're doing everything we can to keep it just a really high quality experience.
You mentioned DLC. What kind of DLC would you have in mind for this kind of game?
Oh my God, so much. I think with what we've created, there's like two sides. There's a load of stories we've got for characters we created in this world that we didn't, it didn't make sense to try and put that content in at launch. So I think there's more, there's interesting stuff we could do with some of our favourite characters out of Monoth. And then at the same time, I think it would be very easy for us to look to the wider Mickey and Friends universe and see like, hey, wouldn't it be fun to bring in this character or that character? Like, is there someone else from Mouse Turn or Duckburg or Toontown we could bring in who wants to come on an adventure in Monoth? So yeah, I mean, me and Grant, by the time we finished Illusion Island, like by the time we submitted for certification, I think between us we had like 2 full notebooks of more stuff we could do in that world.
Wow.
So yeah, like I would love for us to be doing more, telling more stories there, elaborating on characters we've created and bringing in some classic characters.
Do you think, were there any other characters that were considered before you settled on the 4 that are in the game? And could we see anybody come back and just be at additional playable characters to take through the game as it is?
I mean, the phrase I've heard more than any other phrase from my own team, my family, and especially my niece is, why didn't I put Daisy in the game? I'm getting a lot of... I can tell you I'm getting a lot of niece backlash for that. In fact, I believe that she spent the day playing Illusion Island with her friends, and in protest she wore like her Daisy shirt while she was playing it. So that's definitely the big one I get asked. In fact, I was so aware of that you might notice in one of the early cutscenes, one of the Hokens has actually got a shirt that's got Daisy's face and a question mark on it, because I knew that was going to be a big thing. I
wondered what that was about.
Yes, it is
she missing?
Where's
why
Daisy? Where's Daisy is what I can't. Still, the team that worked on the game for the last 3 years, still they ask me this question themselves. But it was always this for like, for me, I love like some of my favourite shorts are stuff like Lonesome Ghosts. And I've always had this thing in my head where I was like, oh man, like how would Lonesome Ghosts have gone if Minnie was there? Because like Minnie's not a party pooper. She wouldn't have tried to stop it, but she's much smarter than those three dudes are. So like, I was always like, what would an adventure be like if it was those three and Minnie together? But yeah, in terms of additional characters, I think it's definitely something we'd love to do. The problem we have with that stuff is like making a character in our game is so resource heavy because it's all hand keyed animation. And I think, I mean, don't quote me on this as the gospel, but I think we ended up with over 100 animations per player character. And each of those animations probably had somewhere from 10 to 40 or 50 frames each.
Jeez.
So if we were to do a new character, like, you know, on average, an animation would maybe to do pencil test take us 1 to 3 days, let's say that. And then the cleanup would probably be that again. So it's almost like instantly just one new character is like over 6 months of like, resource time. So it's a really big commitment. But like, yeah, I mean, there is player characters we'd love to get in there. I think the way we do it is, I think we'd almost want to do like a twist, like give them their own content. So it isn't about them going on the same adventure the others have been on. It'd be about giving them their own adventure to go on in Monoth.
That makes sense. So Mickey would have Minnie, Donald would have Daisy. Who does Goofy get? Would you bring Pete in for him?
He'd have a sandwich.
What about Pluto?
Oh yeah, honestly, like Pluto was the other one. The first question, if the answer to where's Daisy was like, I'm afraid she's not in the game, then it straight away went to where's Pluto.
In the solar system, duh.
There's so many good characters though, right? This is the problem. Like, there's so many. Like, you start treading in Duckburg and Mouseton, and there's loads of characters you'd love to bring in. We tried to get our little nods and homages through our Mickey memorabilia collectibles. But yeah, like, we could happily work on this game for the rest of time. So I think if it finds the audience we hope, then I think, we'll have some great conversations about bringing new characters to the world.
That'd be awesome. New characters, new content. I'm still going to cross my fingers for new platforms because that's just the kind of guy I am.
Yeah, you'll have at least one guaranteed sell if you put it on any console because Joe will buy it on all of you put it on. Yeah,
I pretty much will.
So I'll just I'll try and release it on every console, and then I can guarantee myself a little amount of sales for every console.
Yeah, you could do what the indie developers do and like make an Xbox One version and then make an Xbox Series version with a different achievement list. PS4 and PS5 with separate trophy lists. Then you have the regional stacks. You have
put it on a toaster, on a fridge.
Yeah, I want to play this game while doing my laundry on the washer.
If it runs Doom, let's get it running Disney Illusion Island. That would be the goal.
Yeah. So what is next for Delilah? Are you working on any other games in the pipeline, or has this been the only project?
Yeah, so this was the only thing. So like this was where nearly all of our time and resource went for the last few years. We've kind of got to a great point now where the studio's grown. We've kind of got 2 teams. We've got kind of one team that I'm still heading up, and then we've got a smaller team that Craig, my co-founder, is kind of leading. Obviously, as you can imagine, in the wonderful world of being a developer, I can't talk too much about stuff, but like Craig's team is the one who has got some of the awesome people from Illusion Island on. He's doing like the supports, making sure that the game's being kept up to a high quality, looking at kind of the user feedback on the game and seeing if there's anything, we had a great comment the other day from someone that they were playing with a SNES controller, but they couldn't navigate the map because we'd completely forgot that people played without an analog stick. So that's something we instantly put on our pile. It's not a bug, do you know what I mean? But it's something we instantly then go, okay, like, is there anything we can do to support this in the future? So Craig's team's kind of looking at that stuff. And yeah, like, a lot of my time has been taken up with doing kind of the release and the press for Illusion Island. And so I'm now kind of catching up with my team and seeing how they're getting on with what we're doing next and getting really deep into the writing with Kelsey on what's coming up. And and I hope I'll be back sooner rather than later to talk about that. But as always, I'm just not sure when I'll be announcing what I'm doing. All I can tell you is like
we're
having a great time.
You just don't know when.
We're very happy. Delilah is still here and going. You know, we're now 38 full-timers. And we're having the time of our lives. Like I still feel right now that every year on year is a career highlight for me. So whilst I can't talk about what we're making, I can tell you that I'm really enjoying what it is.
Very cool. Any shot for a Battletoads sequel in the future?
You know what we say, we still throw around season 2 when ourselves in here. We've actually, our very kind friends at Rare have just shipped us all our gigantic life-size statues of our Battletoads from our press campaign we did. So they're in the Delilah office getting set up at the moment.
Oh, that's amazing.
It's funny, I speak to Tom, so Tom Kaufman, who was my lead writer on Battletoads. Tom's a TV writer by trade. He did the first season of Loki and Rick and Morty for the first 3 seasons. And we speak, we'll catch up every now and then, and we've got ideas for what we do for what we'd call season 2. But I think we gave a lot of ourselves to that game. That was quite a grueling development cycle. It took quite a lot out of us. And I don't know if I'm ready for a second one yet. I know that I'm going to be one day. I know that I definitely want to go back and try and convince Craig at Rare and Microsoft to let us do another one. But right now, I kind of think okay, I'm not quite there yet. I'm going to get there, but I need a little bit more time still.
That makes sense. But no matter if it's Battletoads or Disney Island or a new IP, whatever it is, we would love to have you come on and chat with us when you're ready to share some more info. I know we've been chatting for a while now, and you didn't have too much time today with us. Is there anything you wanted to bring up before we let you get going?
First and foremost, thank you very much for having me back. I enjoyed it when I was on. I think it was September 2020 the last time I was on, so it would have been the Battletoads campaign trail, I imagine.
Yep. And it was a thrill to have you on for that, and it's a thrill to have you on for this. It's just it's cool to see where Delilah is going when you start. What was it? Overruled was.
Yeah. Oh yes. So Overruled was one of our first proper big title that we did ourselves, although it was a shoestring budget one. Yeah.
And now you're doing Disney games, so it is awesome to see how you guys have grown and progressed. And I'm just cool to have been an observer the whole time and watching it from the outside. And I can't wait to see where you guys go in the future.
Oh well, thank you. But you're all definitely more than observers. You having us on and letting us talk about this stuff is super important for us, and it's these type of podcasts as well where I get to have proper conversations and they're not just kind of rigid interviews, and I get to kind of let loose a bit, even if Tom, who doesn't want to be mentioned, is on the call. He still lets me be me on this. So yeah, no, you all yourselves, all your team, and the other people that let us do these podcasts are way more than observers. You are key to our journey. And yeah, for me, as cheesy as it sounds, I'd love people to pick up the game. It's available physical and digital on the eShop, the My Nintendo Store, Amazon, etc. I really, really love making this game. I still don't feel ready to move on from it, even though I know personally I have to. It is a real kind of labour of love, and it has been amazing to see families and friends engaging with it together and kind of letting Delilah be a little slice of a memory in their lives. So yeah, I just hope people pick it up and they enjoy it. And if anyone's got any problems or any thoughts or anything at all, please do just hit us up on Twitter. We try to read every single tweet we can. And yeah, thank you to everyone for their support so far.
Well, where can people keep up to date with you on Twitter or X or whatever they're calling it? It's Twitter. It's a bird. It's Twitter.
It's so on the bird site, it's Delilah Studios, DLALA Studios. I'm DNOST on Twitter, DNOST, and then it's DelilahStudios.com as well. And I think for any of the kind of official updates on what's happening, you can check out the Disney Games Twitter and Disney Games social feeds as well.
Very, very cool. AJ, it has been a blast having you on. Aki, did you have anything else you wanted to ask?
Not really. No.
We really got to get you to play the game. We need to get you a Switch. It's either we got to get you a Switch or we got to convince Disney to put Disney Illusion Island on Xbox.
I can tell you which one is going to be cheaper and I can tell you which one's the cheaper and the easier one out of those two.
Yeah, but I know which one's more likely Disney moving stuff over, because that's more money for them. I mean...
You never know. We don't know. No one knows, but we can hope. And that's what I will do. AJ, again, it's been a blast having you on. Everybody, check out the game now. It is in the eShop. Pick it up. What is it, $30, $40?
I think it's $39.99. I think some physical retailers are doing it for about $35 as well.
That works. We're going to take a quick break. We are going to be back with more show. What do you think? DuckTales music? Does that sound good to play in between segments?
Yes.
AJ, you down for some DuckTales?
I mean, I'm always down for DuckTales.
Woo!
Exactly.
Do you have any final words to end the interview?
Go watch some Disney and have a good time.
Woo! Welcome back, everybody. Thanks so much for sticking around. Another huge thanks to AJ Grant Scrutton from Delilah for coming on, chatting with us about Disney Illusion Island. Go check it out. It's out right now. You can pick it up. Good stuff. But we got a party cast to get to, I guess, in some way. Brooke's here. Chris is here.
Hey.
Jacob's here. Aki's here. And Dave K is here. Yay.
Hey, what up? Hello, everyone. Hello, Twitch.
Thank God.
Good night, everybody. That was a good one.
Hooray.
Now that we've praised the Lord, I guess we're all done here.
Back.
Yeah. I guess with the new people joining.
That's a hell of a member.
That's what she said.
That's right. Dave K is here, so I'm going to find ways to abuse the wrestling soundboard.
Please. Yeah, by all means.
You fucking mark!
Wait, if I play shit from the soundboard, will it... oh, yeah, here it is. So I can also abuse the soundboard.
Played. I didn't hear anything. That was weird. Did it play for other people?
Hold on.
Nope.
You should touch me where my penis cries.
Did that go through? All right,
that one
cool.
worked,
Good.
yeah.
Good. now that I understand the format, I can add these in where appropriate.
Fucking yeah!
You'll probably want to cut off my access to this, by the way. Every second you let me use it is a bigger and bigger mistake.
He hasn't cut off my ability to use it. You're fine.
Yeah, Aki loves... he likes that one.
Really? Because our conversation pre-recording made me think that he was a bigger fan of...
Fall into the abyss of my gaping butthole.
I didn't use that one.
No, I used that one.
That very often.
I was the one that used that one.
I was just following the topic of conversation.
Aki does not love the male buttholes. She loves the female. Well, do you? I don't know. What do you enjoy?
If you close your eyes, they're all the same.
I mean, I'm not going to complain about a nice butt. A nice butt is a nice butt.
Thank you, Aki.
No, not yours, Jacob.
Also, Aki, I think I may have misgendered you just now. My apologies.
You probably have. Most people think I'm a guy, so I just don't even care.
Well, still, that's something I'll be mindful of moving forward.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
That's the only time he's going to show you respect, by the way.
It's more than what you do, so I'll take it.
Anyway, showtime.
Let's do this!
How was everybody's weekend? Did anybody do anything fun over the weekend?
I played review games.
I played Etrian Odyssey, and that's all.
Which one?
The first one, HD remake on the Switch. I got like way into it. I'm now like really kind of far, and yeah, it's that game really takes over if you let it.
Well, it's an Etrian game. That's kind of what they do.
Yeah, I mean, at least that's what they do with me. You know, I've always been a fan of it.
Life destroyers.
Yeah, it's like just one more grind, man. I don't need to sleep.
Speaking of sleep, I'm tired. Is anyone else like super tired? Like the
God,
heat is
so tired.
Ugh.
I was really tired today.
I think I'm still recovering from watching what felt like 50 years of the worst boxing match I've ever seen in my life over the weekend.
Yeah, did anybody else watch what was it, Jake Paul?
Jake Paul and Nate Diaz. A fight that might still be happening. I think I may have slipped into some kind of waking coma, and I'm imagining all this stuff. In reality, I'm still watching that fucking fight.
Yeah, that was a pretty abysmal fight.
It was really bad.
It was only 10 3-minute rounds, and it felt like a lot more.
We only
watched like 5 rounds too, and we gave up.
I looked like the first girl who died in the ring after we watched that fucking fight. It was so bad. Oh man,
we were watching wrestling because it was a big wrestling weekend. So we watched a bunch of wrestling, and then we were like, "Oh shit, the Diaz Paul fight is on. Should we watch it?" And we flipped that on and watched a few rounds, and just went back to wrestling.
Like it can't be understated here. And for anyone on Twitch who did not watch the fight, which you were lucky that you did not. So it was Jake Paul fighting Nate Diaz, who is a very, very washed MMA fighter who cannot box. And they apparently went all 10 rounds because despite Jake Paul apparently being a boxer and outweighing Nate Diaz by like 50 pounds, he couldn't knock him out.
Yeah.
I never want to hear about how fake wrestling looks ever again.
I'm just waiting for somebody to finally break his fucking nose.
This was like watching ChatGPT try and describe boxing in real time. It fucking sucked. God, I was so mad.
I don't think I've seen someone end up in a headlock in a boxing fight before, like a standing guillotine. Nate Diaz had him in a chokehold. It was just like, oh yeah, this isn't MMA. We gotta.
And then they were just like hugging the whole fucking time, like they were slow dancing like it was Mormon prom out there. It fucking sucked. It was so bad. It
really was. And
I say Mormon because they were at least a hymnal's distance apart. They were living with. Which is a moral Christian, I of course obviously wouldn't do.
Yeah. Did anyone else have any fun stuff over the weekend?
Well, my air conditioner bit the big one.
I thought that happened last week.
No.
I'm thinking wrong.
Yeah.
No.
So
because our air conditioner is shitting out too, which is fun. Ours is like pouring water.
Oh boy, that's bad.
Yikes.
Yeah. So I am noticeably sweaty tonight.
Mine's still hanging in there somehow. My air conditioner is old as shit. I'm surprised it still works.
It seems like the older ones work better than the newer ones.
Well, they're built to.
Yeah. Yeah,
this thing was installed in the, I think, late 90s. It was installed when Jinkos were still popular.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. It has a neon green slap bracelet on the ductwork somewhere.
We're just dating ourselves right now. Brooke, anything fun on your end over the weekend? No, Brooke's gone.
Sorry, I had to
muted.
run over and unmute. I will walk back over to the stove where I am cooking my dinner because I just.
Oh, very good.
Ooh, what are you cooking?
So you may hear some sizzling. I'm actually doing it's a leftover chicken and penne pasta with some spinach. I'm heating up in the pan.
Oh,
Nice.
Pretty boring.
That's good.
That
I
sounds
did
real
chicken and
good.
pasta today.
I love fast food, if you can't tell by my screen name and every episode of the show where we talk about fast food all the damn time.
And again,
Yeah.
the drive-through speaker that you're using to communicate.
You know what? I'm connecting the dots here. I'm starting to see a pattern. I worked in fast food.
So you know what's funny? I was cooking earlier and listening to a podcast, and I was like, man, I've never thought about cooking and being in the podcast.
I got used to it on this one just because I normally wait till the reviews, but it's I'm an earlier time zone than you. Also, sometimes I'm getting right off work and then
You're special guest today, so it's okay.
yeah, I'm here for emotional support. I don't
Yay.
even have a review game. I just love everyone so much, especially Jacob.
Yay.
That's
I don't
all
know
right.
no
what I
one
did.
bought that.
The emotional support,
Not
Joe.
even remotely.
Joe. Nah, Jacob, you're cool.
Thanks, Brooke. At least somebody here thinks I'm cool.
Please, your emotional support butthole has gotten us through good times and bad.
Thank God.
It also acts as a flotation device.
Yo, can y'all hear my
It's like
oven sizzling? I'm
It's
wondering.
like finding a Saint Bernard in the Alps.
Can hear the wooden spoon.
That's awesome. He knew it was wood. I'm sorry, Dave. I think we interrupted you with this bullshit.
That is
Sorry.
no, trust me. That's probably good that no one heard what I said.
I'll go back in the recording and listen to it, and I'll be like,
Thankfully, thankfully your pledge to never ever actually edit the show is going to make sure that it stays in.
yeah, pretty much.
That said, keep it in. Don't cut that.
That's not a pledge. Joe's just lazy as fuck.
Very much so.
Counting it as
Pledge of laziness.
I'm
Yeah, there you
so
go.
lazy that we have a handful of channel point rewards, and 2 of them I don't even know if they're series only console games. So I just put make sure you could run this because I don't know what system it's on.
nice.
Yeah, that's how lazy I am today. I legit I want to go to bed.
Hey,
I hate everything and all of you except Brooke. She's nice.
Aw,
What do you mean,
man.
motherfucker?
Perfect. That is
No,
the
we
best
definitely
Dang
hate
mindset,
you, Aki.
I'll
best
allow it.
mindset to approach podcasting.
Yes.
This is what do you call damn it. What do you call it when you tell somebody that you're mad at them for drinking and stuff? Intervention. This is a reverse intervention. Joe has called us all here except Brooke to tell us that he has a problem with us.
Yeah. I can't
That's
stand you
acceptable.
people.
That's
That
why
he's
Pernell's
called
not
us here
here.
to apparently not intervene is something of a conundrum, I have to say.
I was gonna do an intervention, but then I was like,
It's an outervention. Haha.
Outervention! Fuck y'all, that's got to be the episode name, I think.
well, I guess
Oh
I gotta
my
write that
God.
down.
Yeah,
I
Outervention's
love
real
that.
good.
We'll remember.
I can't
I'll pop it in the
remember
chat.
sorry. I can't remember simple words, but I guess I can make up complex ones.
Hey, whatever.
I'm
works.
writing it down.
That's how you know you're a true genius.
Yeah. Oh man, so should we dive into reviews? We got a handful of games to talk about tonight.
Yeah,
should we-
speaking of true genius.
Sure, if we need to.
Hockey's just like whatever.
Yeah, I'm. Yeah, it's too hot. I just don't care.
All right, well, let's get to these. We're going to start things off with AKIBA'S strip, Undead and Undressed Director's Cut, developed by Acquire, published by XSEED, released August 1st on the Switch for $29.99. The Cadi's Root DLC is available on PS4 and PC for $7.99. Fight like a nerd to defend Akibara from the diabolical synthesizers, artificial vampires that can only be defeated by...
Synthesisters.
Oh,
Synthesisters or something.
whatever. They're
Yeah, I know.
they're artificial
looks like-
vampires that can only be defeated by stripping them down to their bare essentials. I guess we are starting things off with
SML After Dark.
Fucking yeah!
You
So-
now have my
That-
attention.
About to disappoint all y'all.
Aw.
But go ahead, Joe, or if you're still introing.
Yeah, go for it. Tell us, what is AKIBA'S strip, Undead and Undressed Director's Cut?
Okay, so AKIBA'S Trip, which, of course, if you took out the apostrophe and carefully, moved around some spaces, it would be AKIBA'S Strip, is actually a sequel game. This is the second such game to appear on the Switch as a remake. So we'll kind of talk about that, I guess, the past of it. So the AKIBA'S Trip game first appeared on the PSP, and then a sequel also appeared on the PSP and PS3, both in 2011 and 2013, respectively. The first game was remade and released on the Switch a couple of years ago as AKIBA'S Trip Hellbound and Debriefed. I actually think I added it to my wish list at some point, because, the $29.99, I was like, well, I'm curious. I'm not that curious. So AKIBA'S Trip 2 received similar treatment and came out as AKIBA'S Trip Undead and Undressed, and that's the game we're concerned with today. So this is the second game in the series, because you when you have a premise that good, you can't just keep it in one game,
Very true. I thought this is a fun premise for a game, and I'm actually kind of disappointed they haven't brought it to Xbox yet, because I think this game series would fit well with the whole Xbox ecosystem. But
I think that's true, and also there maybe something holding it back. So let's dive in and talk about it.
Let's find out.
So yeah. So in this game, you play a kid called Nanashi, who is Nakanashi. Actually, I don't remember his name now. I have to look it up. But he is a otaku. Nanashi is his name. Yes, I was correct the first time. I should have been more confident in myself. He basically wakes up being expositioned over by the bad guy who has him strapped to a table because he applied for a job. But the job in question, even though it does say, you actually do get to look at the job offer, and it does mention experimental drugs and stuff in it. So it's kind of on our boy Nanashi that he's in this situation, to be honest. But you are given dialogue and several options of how to react to your situation. The situation is that you have a job where you have to go out in, preferably at night, but carefully in the daytime, to go out and beat up the people of Akihabara, which, if you did not know, is a kind of video game anime kind of mecca in Tokyo. I spent a week there myself. I can confirm it's very nerdy as a place. But absolutely wonderful place for if you're a big old nerd like me. Anyways, so that is the job, and you kind of have you have a choice of how to react to that, one of which will get you an instant game over, and you have to start the entire game over. I have one friend who always looks for this in games, especially like visual novel style games and stuff, like where you have dialogue choices that actually affect stories. She always looks for the one that will end the game within 5 minutes. So this one would pass my friend's standards, absolutely. You can end this game permanently in 5 minutes.
I love games that do that. Like, my favorite is still Far Cry 4.
Nice. I don't know the story there.
Well, short version of it is the bad guy tells you to wait here while he goes to investigate something. And that's when you're supposed to escape and the game happens. Otherwise, you can just sit there and he'll come back and you'll go visit your father's grave or something like that, and it's the end of the game.
Oh, and then he just kills you or something?
No, it's just you go, you do what you were supposed to do, and you leave, and that's it.
Okay.
Yeah, nothing bad happens.
Bethesda's just like, well, okay, fine. You don't want to play? We aren't going to play. Take our toys and go home. Back to the menu. All right, well, okay, so yeah, Nanashi is in this situation. If you choose the not dumbest dialogue options possible, then you get rescued by a lady who has a name, and I'm sure I will remember it as soon as they pull it up here in the game. Shizuku Tokikaze. So she comes in, busts in with an umbrella, beats up the bad guys, rescues you, but then you find out that she's kind of like on this mission to defeat these exact people that you were working for and now have been summarily let off. And but conveniently, you have a a hideout full of nerdy teenagers and one old man who owns the place. And so you take her back there, and you all kind of collaborate on this mission together. Whereupon starts a game that is basically going out into Akihabara, being attacked, assailed, assaulted by these vampires, and or joining a fight club and, fighting like arena battles and stuff. And with the partner of your choice, who, depending on who you choose and how consistently, will affect the actual ending of the game. This is a visual novel at heart with action sequences in it. So it's very much about paying close attention to your social ties and how they will affect the story and your relationship with all the female partners that you end up with. Obviously, I don't think the males enter into it much. I mean, this game is from 10 years ago. Anywho's, so there's a colorful cast of characters, including identical twins who are opposite personalities. You love to see it. And so there's fun characters all around. It's not just romance and stuff. And it is a lot of beating up people and stealing their clothes. Let's get to that part. So the action of the game is basically a street brawler. It is, one of those things where, you get into a fight stance, the ring appears where, you the kind of the circle of fights, and you square off against one or more opponents. Your partner is AI controlled, and you have basically 3 levels of attacks that you can do. You can punch someone in the head, you can punch somebody in the upper body, you can kick somebody in the lower body. Depending on what weapons, quote unquote, you have, and I do put those in quotes for a reason. You depending on how much damage you do, will make the clothes that the enemy is wearing easier to tear off. Now, for plot reasons, the slightly vampiric characters, they don't even look like vampires, they look like regular people, but they're supposed to feed off of your life energy. So to prevent them from doing that, you have to explode them. And the kind of vampires they are only weak from the neck down to the sun. So that's why stripping clothes off is relevant to the plot. Forget the fact that a lot of them are wearing like short sleeves and like skirts and stuff. Like, it's, I don't know. If you get your clothes stripped off, you explode by the sun. It's not gory or anything. It's just they kind of fizzle out. Anyways, you attack the different levels, and when it gets weak enough, you can pull it off. And the game will train you on how to pull off combos where you can rip off multiple shirts and then move on to pants and stuff. It's slightly like, I don't know. It's like kind of wink and the nudge style of like naughty. It's not even, it's barely anything. It's actually kind of juvenile, to be honest. There's not really anything sexy in the game. Like I said, you strip them down to their undercrackers and that's it. There's no nudity in the game. None whatsoever. It's a mature-rated
game, but it should be an immature-rated game.
Exactly. It's silly. The theme of the game is silly and a little bit sincere, which is actually one of my favorite things. Now, having said, there is jiggle physics, and they are very awkward because it's PSP level, and they did not do much to improve that. But that's about it. I mean, like I said, just some real awkward.
The original PS1 Dead or Alive jiggle physics.
It's almost there, though. I assure you, this is almost that level. Like, so you can of course, as you defeat enemies and they drop clothes, you can pick up those clothes, and they're now your clothes, so you can change into them if you like. And if you are changing a female character's clothes, and you use the right stick to rotate them, they will jiggle while being rotated slowly. It's so funny. It's just like this anti-gravity type of situation. I don't know. Maybe it's explained in the plot somewhere. I don't know.
I can almost guarantee it's not.
Yeah. I mean, that is the thrust of the game, really. I mean, there's no other kind of combat. And now I'm going to circle back around to when I was talking about talking about weapons. There aren't even conventional weapons in this game. You'll soon find, as you start equipping stronger and stronger things, they're just more and more ridiculous everyday items that you could find in Akihabara. The strongest weapon my character wielded for a couple of different levels was a computer monitor that he would just slap against people. And that leads me to a special mode that's in this, which is Toy Box mode. Toy Box mode allows you to play through the entire story. However, you won't get any kind of unlockable or clear data out of it. It's just playing through the story, but with every single item of the game unlocked and able to be equipped at any time.
Oh, God.
It's literally just do what you want. You know, if you just want to read the story and just plow through it, you can even set the difficulty on top of having this ultra power. And, it's this thing that Idea Factory games do sometimes, including all the DLC with like a game like they did that with Fairy Fencer F Advent Dark Force, for instance, on the Switch anyway. So yeah, Toy Box mode allowed me to take a gander at like what's the ultimate power in this game. Turns out one of the strongest weapons you could possibly wield are mystical glow sticks. It's just 3. You wield them between your fingers like Wolverine claws, and they do massive damage.
That's how I beat up people at raves.
Yeah, exactly. That's the level of like not actually all that violent that this game is. It's very campy, but it never and it is about beating up people of both genders. By the way, I beat up and stripped down 6 dudes before I even saw my first lady. So it's an equal opportunity. Beat and strip down, whatever.
Strip them up.
Yeah, there you go. A strip them up. So that is basically it. Like I said, you just play through the story. This game does they advertise that they do introduce the true ending, which involves one character who is a lady who moved to Japan from Finland, and so speaks bad Japanese. And the game, of course, translates that to bad English because we're watching this in English. And yeah, there's like a special mode involving her that will earn you what is considered the true ending of the game that wasn't in the original release. So there's your bonus for you Switch players.
Or that's the DLC you could buy for $8 on other platforms.
Yeah, there is also DLC in this one. It's costume based mostly. So yeah.
Yeah, well, the game is $30. The Katie's Root DLC is $8 if you're on PS4 and PC. What do you think of everything?
Oh, the Katie's Root thing is DLC.
Yes.
Okay.
It's included with the Switch version, but because the other versions have been out for a while, it's DLC for the other versions. It's just included with the Switch.
Okay. Yeah. Understood. I was wondering about that. Okay, yeah, so 29 is that is a little high for a 10-year-old, remake of a game that didn't really see much graphical improvement. I mean, it definitely looks like a PS3 game.
I mean, if you want to talk about expensive re-releases, next episode, we'll be talking about Rockstar's newest release.
Oh, boy. I can't wait. Well, I was going to say 29 is still pretty modest. And, I mean, considering this is the sequel to another AKIBA'S strip that costs also $30 and has different characters in it. So this is clearly, meant for folks who appreciated the first game and want more of the same, for sure. For new people getting into it, I'd say it's worth playing and checking out the story. And the action is pretty fun, but not overly complex or anything like that. It's a good romp. For 30, I would have to put it in the try it category. Just it being a remake that is going to look a little bit dated. And also, again, it's got the things. It's got like voice acting. It's got animated, visual novel aspects of it. It's got, action for what it's worth. But yeah, 29 puts it in kind of the try it territory. But if it goes on sale, this is definitely one that you could pop in and have fun for a weekend and, then. By the way, if you beat it once, the next time that you play through it, you'll actually have hints on all the dialogue options as to what they will affect so that you can have a much more educated second playthrough. Oh, I cool. Really like that aspect of it. Anyway, that was meant to be part of the regular review, but yeah, try it for me.
Nice, sounds good. Next up is Running Fable, developed and published by Seashell Studio, released August 9th on Xbox One, Series X and S, and Switch for $7.99. Running Fable is a cross-platform multiplayer racing strategy game for up to 10 players, in which each player must place items and traps strategically before racing on fantastical levels, presents a new take on the racing genre, adding fresh item placement mechanic that enhances the experience from going from point A to point B while keeping rounds fast-paced. Jacob and Chris, you guys played this one. Jacob, start off. What is Running Fable?
So Running Fable is this multiplayer, and one of the things I did like about it is that it's crossplay. Although I couldn't identify like what systems everybody was on, but whatever. At least I was playing against people. And what it is that it's supposed to be the tortoise and the hare, or the turtle and the hare, because they really look more like turtles, but whatever. So you have your two factions, although I don't really think that there's any real difference between the two. You have your what?
Oh, I was just gonna say, can the turtle fly?
I didn't see it flying.
Okay, the rabbit can fly.
I thought
I'm trying it out with the turtle right now.
I thought it was
so the R trigger button for the turtle causes it to get in its shell and spin real fast.
The special power thing.
The special power, yeah. For a rabbit, it lets it actually fly, so you can fly over like obstacles and stuff.
Well, the mechanic is not particularly useful. I never found it to be useful for any of the races, but.
Right on.
Did you lose a lot?
Just
because if you lost a lot, that's
no. Actually, if you go through if you go through the achievements, you see that I actually ended up in first place.
How many
which
times?
Actually made
once.
No, 3 times. But that actually made me question whether I was playing bots. So I don't know. I mean, it's early in the game's release, but then I also realized it was cross-platform, so I don't know whether it was bots or if I was just playing people who were playing on PC or something.
I couldn't tell if it was bots or if it's maybe some form of like non-synchronous online play where like people set their things up and it stores it to be used later. Yeah, maybe. But I like when I do races online, it seems like everybody readies up immediately, and I'm the only one who's really taken the time to lay out traps and stuff.
Right. And I was about to get to the trap thing next. So before the game, you have it's a little bit over 60 seconds to lay down all of your traps and your bonuses, because there's little bonuses that you can pick up that like restore your health or your power. But then there's also traps like spider webs, like cages that fall down, or like hidden traps that, like it's like a pit that you have to jump out of. And then there's also like insta kills, which is just like a dynamite bomb. And so you have to lay these out all over the map, and the map, like the game doesn't tell you like, hey, there's more to the map. You just need to scroll to the right. And so it's real easy to just dump all your stuff there at the beginning of the map and then have nothing left over. And at the same time, like, I honestly don't think the 60 seconds is enough to lay down everything. Which, I mean, perhaps that's intentional. I don't know, but I was a little annoyed with it. And especially like if this is a game that's aimed at kids, like they're definitely not going to be able to get everything that they need down in time.
I don't think you're meant to place absolutely everything. I think you're just meant to have enough to throw on the map where you can in the time you're given. I, on the other hand, would just like pick something, mash the A button, and just place them fucking everywhere.
Yeah, I mean,
no rhyme or reason, just dropping things all over the map just so I could use them all and get those trap points.
But I mean, this thing is also made for kids, and it's just like I don't know, like that feature, like was it kind of cool? Yes, but at the same time, I can also see kids being like, I don't have time for this. I can't figure this out. Like I know my 5-year-old would just be like, no.
And that's why I wondered if there's some form of asynchronous online play where people who've laid down their traps, if their ghosts are stored and their layouts are stored and used. I really don't know how it works. I just know that I frequently have games ready to go and I kick everybody's ass.
I mean, well, that's the same thing for me. I didn't always come in first, but most of the time I was either like first or second. and on top of it, when I look through my Xbox list of players that you've played with in previous games, nobody's ever listed for Xbox. So,
Chris,
but yeah.
What did you do in the game, Chris?
Mostly just race the single player offline bit to kind of learn the game, and ran into quite a few issues that I don't know if we have an issues section for this review, but
what did you run into?
Well, for one, it's got some weirdness to it. So it's a racing game, right? But you can actually move around in 3D space pretty freely. It's kind of like the foot race against Koopa the Quick in Super Mario 64, right? Like, you're just trying to race to a point, and you can just get there however you want. I had a lot of luck with the turtle, no luck with the rabbit, for some reason. And yeah, traps are, like I said, laid out ahead of time. I like that if you're playing with other people, they can't see where you laid your traps, and so you can really get kind of clever with it if you want to plan ahead. Which again, you will have to plan well ahead because you can't exactly plan it on the fly.
Yeah.
Different issues that I had, like technical issues. One, I'm playing on the Switch. Frame rate not so good. Every time, so there's a option for inverted camera, right? Which is great. We always look for that, right? However, it doesn't work. It resets itself after every race, and you have to toggle it on and then back off in order for it to work. And sometimes it will not work when you start the race, and you can't pause during a race because the race will go on while you're paused. So that's kind of a game. Because it's an online game, even when it's offline. And so, yeah, that was kind of a thing. The other thing is that when you crash, which will happen a lot, because even if you're racing as a turtle, landing in water kills you, which does not seem very turtle-like behavior to me.
Rabbits die too.
Yeah, rabbits die in the water, but I mean, okay, sure, the rabbit is rabid, has hydrophobia, and can't go in the water, fine. Turtles should be able to go into water, IMO, just saying.
Yeah.
But anyways, you crash, you come back, you're not going to be facing the right direction every time, and you really have to kind of use the map and that tiny ass arrow to figure out where you're even going in a course that is full of loops and stuff. So a lot of times I would end up just running in the opposite direction with no real feedback as to what I've done wrong.
Right, and the game doesn't tell you that either.
Yeah,
pretty much almost every racing game in existence nowadays will be turn around or something like that. This one does not.
And I've had a situation before where when the little cage drops on you, it is not breakable.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, some of them I can break. I have run across a couple that did not break. Some of them would break, but only after a long time.
There's a button that you have to hit that I think is centered right in the middle. And I've had it before where if I'm jumping at the front of the cage, it won't trigger the button. So I have to reposition back up and then jump and trigger it and then run.
Yeah, that might have been it, but yeah, that's still not great. Yeah. I'm not gonna.
That's something that then should have been explained in the tutorial,
right?
Not just you have to jump out of the cage,
And ultimately, at the end of the day, it's just kind of more frustrating than not that you have to manually turn the camera while you're racing in a racing game.
I was gonna get
all
to
the
that.
time.
Yeah, the camera is a bit ass throughout, and it's just. Yeah, if this was a 3D platformer, that would be fine. But it's not. It's a racing game.
And so, also a racing game with lots of turns. It's not even a straight line racing game kind of deal, which is interesting. So, I mean, having said, I like the idea. That mostly what I like about this game are the ideas. I like what they're bringing to the table with different takes on what is essentially now the formula for, unrealistic racing, and that is lots and lots of unfair traps and, a multiplayer online type of situation. I mean, everybody's doing it now. I was playing Chocobo GP and I just stopped playing it because I was I'm tired of these traps. I'm tired of these weapons. I'm tired of these people in their little lives. Or whatever it is. Yeah. Whatever the meme is. Anyways.
From Watchmen.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm
so yeah, you know,
putting my head
it's a
down
good
at
idea.
Root Beer's joke. It says, did you know cowboys don't roll joints? It's because they tumble weed.
That's pretty good. That's not bad. But yeah, it's like great ideas. Just you know, the implementation could use some work. Execution definitely not good. Because like I said, frame rates, bugs, that freaking camera.
Well, it's an $8 game. What do the two of you think about it?
I was gonna say I don't hate the game. I questioned the target audience for it because I feel like the kids that this is aimed at, it's a little complex or too much for that age range. But at the same time, like the age range of kids that would get it and stuff like that, they wouldn't be into something with like cutesy cartoon characters. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good good observation, honestly. You know, because I think about my nieces who like to play, you know, pretty cutesy games, but they also know how to do like stuff in Minecraft and such. So like, you know, dotting a course with traps, I wonder if that would be fun for them. But you know, again, they only have 60 seconds to do so.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, if it was more than 60 seconds, I think they'd be okay. But I don't know. I put it at a try it. I mean, for $8, like it's definitely not the worst $8 game I've had to review on there. And like as both Chris and I said, like it's got cool ideas, but you know, it just doesn't quite get there.
Yeah, I'm gonna jump in and say that for $8, I would give it a fucking
yeah.
Brooke, thank you for the sub. Brooke's still muted. Oh, wait, there she is. No, back to muted. I'm just gonna sit here and watch the stream. Anyway. I think it's a fun game. I appreciate that it's trying to do stuff different. I love the fact that it's crossplay, so that there's usually almost always at least a game that you could jump into, whether it's bots or real people. I still don't really know, but you can play. There's stuff to do in the game. And for $8, I think it's a fun little diversion. I want to see what Seashell could do in a sequel, and if they could refine it, or even if it's not a sequel, but just some updates to this game to see if they could refine the idea and smooth it out. And for $8, I think it's a solid investment.
Right on. I think for $8 you can get Arcade Archives Growl, which just came out. It's a Taito beat 'em up arcade game where you rescue animals from animal poachers by blowing up the poachers with missiles. That's what $8 can get you as well.
Not on Xbox.
Not on Xbox. Well, I'm speaking from the Switch perspective, and from the Switch perspective, again, seeming to have run into more technical issues than the other two. I would say it's a pretty cool game. I would recommend picking it up if you have friends that are playing it, but don't be that friend that starts it. That everyone else has to buy it to play with. So there you go.
Jacob, that's it for you.
Yay!
I'm only halfway done.
Any final thoughts, Jacob?
No, I'm trying to disconnect from this damn thing. Cell phone. There we go.
And he's
bye.
He doesn't have thoughts. You should know that.
That is true. I'm sad I didn't get to
shut up
him more.
Well, he was earnestly reviewing the game, so
I know. It's like, well, when you first jump and run down the one side, I mean, when you try to do, I said when you try. I said when you. I would just be.
I can see Joe abusing this tool for any reviews that go over 10 minutes.
Oh, son of a bitch!
I was about to say you'll have plenty of time to do that kind of stuff for me, so I'm anticipating.
Speaking of Dave, the next game to talk about is Firebird, developed and published by Ludogram, released August 2nd on Steam for $11.99. Firebird is a narrative road trip that takes place in Slavic folklore in an adventure that resembles a traditional tale. Aboard your truck, travel to the far north, meet colorful characters, and face the creatures inhabiting the sacred lands. Dave, what is going on in Firebird?
Okay, well, and before I start, just in case we've gotten any new subs since the show began, welcome to Outervention. So in Firebird, You play a Russian convoy driver named Mariska, who takes on a passenger named Vasilisa, who needs food and supplies brought to her very rural village in northern Russia. I had to spell those names phonetically, and I probably still screwed them up.
That's fair.
On their way,
That is very fair.
I'm doing my best. On their way, they run the gauntlet of confrontational Russian folklore and try to outrun debt collectors coming after Mariska. Other supporting characters include Dmitri, a trucker who is an asshole, and Ivan, a trucker who is a well-meaning oaf who talks about his mom a lot. I don't know how accurately this will represent the culture they're drawing from, but you interact with a lot of different characters drawn from various parts of Slavic folklore, and every single one of them will fight you at the slightest provocation. Some of those interactions have a certain natural tension. Put it that way. Gameplay is not a point and click. Like there's no inventory. You're not solving any puzzles. It's more like it's sort of a visual novel, I guess. You progress in the game by making choices that put you on specific paths as you drive through Russia heading north. Some of those choices can kill you. So welcome to Eastern Europe. Luckily, there is much less resource grinding than you would think, given the game's description. Like they talk about, you have to manage how much fuel you have and what kind of repair your truck is in. That's pretty easy to do. It's not super grindy in that respect, which I appreciate because that shit gets old. And I will say that this game is less abject than most depictions of Eastern Europe. Still abject, but less so. And in a way that is familiar, I think, to an American audience because it's about trucking. So, a fun fact about me, I love games about trucking. Games of media about trucking is fascinating. Because, like, in reality, it is a monotonous and incredibly physically demanding job that is still, like, it's a weird sort of American cultural artifact that represents freedom and ambition and loneliness and increasingly debt. And from a storytelling perspective, I think the best way to put it, it provides a setting that's always changing because you're always moving, but it's also isolated and like weirdly intimate. So you can do a lot of cool like character stuff when you're in a trucking situation. Like even a game like, because Firebird like doesn't really engage those topics the same way that say like Kentucky Route Zero does, because that's also a game that heavily centers trucking. But it can't really avoid them because they're sort of built into the genre. That's kind of all my thoughts about that. The game's fun. I'll put aside my freshman level critical theory and just say the game is fun. It's very fun.
It's got a different visual style to it. It's very sort of hand drawn and cartoony, and in a way that it looks more like a European cartoon, not specifically like Eastern Europe, but it looks more like a European cartoon than a sort of typical like American indie game, or even even it looks different from a lot of visual novels, to be honest. Which I thought was cool. I really like the visual. I really like the visuals of the game. I think the character design is really good. I think it's very like immediately engaging. I like the fact that despite the fact that it's set in kind of a bleak area in a bleak time, and your main character is in horrible debt, I appreciate that it has a bright color palette. It's the bleakness doesn't really extend to the visuals all that much. And as you progress, as you get more into the fantastical elements of the game, that like it increases, like it gets more lurid and colorful and strange, which I really appreciate. So graphically, it's really cool. And the interface of playing it is nice. It's pretty easy. It's simple, but it still feels like appropriately interactive, I think.
It's a fun game, and it does have some replayability just because the choices matter sort of gameplay mechanics mean that you don't see everything in one playthrough. So there is value in playing through at least a couple more times. I only played through it once. That's really all I had time for. But I will play through it a couple more times just because there is some stuff on the journey north that I didn't get to see just because of the choices I made in the moment. So, and I also died a bunch of times. So it's pretty generous about letting you. It does autosave, but the checkpoints are fairly generous, so you don't usually have to do a lot of backtracking when something inevitably kills you.
Oh, well,
that's pretty much all I got. It's a short game, so there isn't a ton of stuff to go over. It's not like Firmament, which you could probably play for years and not really fully complete or understand. So,
well, the game's sitting at $12. What do you think of it?
$12 isn't bad, honestly. Yeah, I'd say $12 is decent. Like if you could probably, if you wanted to wait for it to go on sale for like 10. I don't know what they would knock off for a sale price for that game, but like $12 isn't bad. I'd say it is. It provides at least $12 worth of entertainment.
Cool, sounds good.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
so,
Dave,
short and to the point.
That's how I like it on this show. Short and to the point.
Not gonna Tony Storm me, goddammit.
Well, you know that ain't gonna happen. You can say Aki all you want. It ain't gonna happen. Deal with it, bitch. You.
I feel like Aki's game had more content.
Well, Aki didn't review yet.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well.
In your face. It was Chris, then Jacob and Chris. Aki's at the end.
All right. Well, I feel like Aki's game will have more content to discuss.
I don't know.
You'd think that, but you'd be wrong.
We'll find out in a I don't know, like 2.5 hours or something like that. But
I'm reviewing a reissue of Pong that is the approximate length of the audiobook for Blood Meridian. Strap in, motherfuckers. War is God.
Oh shit. Well, Dave, that is it for you. We will let you get going.
Very good. Yeah, I'm going directly to bed.
I'm jealous.
You should be.
Me too.
Really excited about it. Cannot wait.
Well, do you have any?
That's great podcast entertainment. Yeah. When everybody's complaining about being here and wanting to go to bed.
This show fucking sucks. Stay tuned for more.
Look, when you staff a video game review podcast with people exclusively who are old and tired, this is what you get.
Yeah, we're all.
This is entirely a programming decision.
Brooke's young.
Joe is responsible.
Brooke's still a young whippersnapper with optimism and joy in life.
Still flush with youth and vitality.
Well, never ask a woman her age on live recorded SML. So
we were actually going one step worse and assuming it. So
okay, I'll take that as long as the word "young" was in there. I think my mic was messed up, but I just want to say I hope you sleep really well, Dave.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, likewise. Good night, everyone. Good night, Twitch. And we'll see you next time on Outervention.
Oh, my God. That was really good.
Oh, man. All right. Next game, GigaBash, developed and published by Passion Republic Games, released August 3rd on Xbox One, Series X and S, and Switch for $24.99, which is the new lower price for all platforms. Kaiju or hero battle in a chaotic arena and rise as the king of titans. GigaBash combines the chaos and creativity of arena brawlers with the jaw-dropping scale of classic kaiju movies and games. Play as either a rampaging titan or a titan-hunting mecha. Summon lightning from the heavens or use a radio tower as a baton, or roll a whole district and your enemies into a single massive snowball. Chris, what is going on in GigaBash?
All right, GigaBash. Well, I want to mention that I specifically requested this game after already purchasing it on the PS4 at the very day that the Godzilla DLC released. Y'all that don't know, because I never reviewed a Godzilla game on here, I'm a big fan of the big guy. It's the only film, if there's like a Godzilla film that's going to be in theaters, I will be in the theater twice to watch it. No other movie. I've tested this. So yes, GigaBash. That's getting ahead of myself a little bit because that was going to be like the best part. GigaBash is a game that is more or less based on one of the finest games to ever come out on the Nintendo GameCube. That is to say, Godzilla Destroy All Monsters Melee. For those unfamiliar, this is a game that's about 20 years old now, where you play as it was an Atari game actually that basically pitted Godzilla and all of his most famous foes in a 3D city environment where you can roam about freely and not only bash each other with special moves, but also pick up the actual buildings and like throw them at each other. Use your fire breath, your flying moves, all kinds of great stuff. Not the most precise of fighting games, but and definitely not a fast fighting game, but it definitely felt great to play with 4 players back in the day, let me tell you. Well, GigaBash has captured the spirit of that for the modern era, although a very considering what happened with 2014's Godzilla game from Bandai Namco, which is now sitting on my shelf worth about $1,000 because I haven't opened it yet. Toho pulled the license for that game from Bandai Namco, so that game is unavailable, and so of course unscrupulous resellers priced it to the moon. That's also a fighting game that's 3D and starring Godzilla, etc. So they did a real smart move in GigaBash and came up with all original kaiju that they own. So perfect. There are several kaiju monsters who are they're actually pretty original. Like if you're a real big like Toho fan, you will see traces of the inspiration behind them. There's also design documents that you can look at that kind of give it away a little bit more, but very imaginative, cool characters. Goro Gong, who looks like a Harryhausen beast. He's even got like the buggy eyes. They're pointing in the wrong directions and stuff. Looks like a claymation monster from like the 30s or something. Ironically, one of the faster characters to use, actually. And there's like a crab monster that will kind of remind you of, it's like a lobster shrimpy type of enemy that will remind you of Ebirah, the Horror of the Deep, which was a very weird Godzilla film because it's a film they put Godzilla in because they wanted to make it a King Kong film and King Kong had to pull out at the last minute. That's actually a true story. So they just put in Godzilla and kept it going. You got your giant mechas that are anti-kaiju devices, and one of those giant mechas, I have to stop the whole thing to praise this, is Concrete. Concrete is a robotic actual building that fights back. So finally, the big square concrete buildings get a say in the matter. And he's got a little chimney right in the center of the roof that looks like a little top hat. It's amazing. Love Concrete. I mean, we love him. And then there's a dragon and a plant monster, and a Gigaman who's an Ultraman, essentially Ultraman if he was, really let himself go in middle age kind of thing, but still effective. Lots of colorful characters, kaiju that really stand out against each other, and each having their own kind of special move set and stuff. And then, we'll get to that in a minute. So no, we'll get to that now. Then, like I said, this is what steered me in the direction of this game and purchasing it. Like I said, for the recently discounted price on the PS4 and the full price of the DLC twice, because I had to purchase the DLC for this review. They actually licensed 4 Godzilla monsters from Toho, and they are available as DLC. That is, stop the presses and sing praises and stuff. They brought in Gigan from 70s Godzilla films, one of my favorite monsters. He actually was my favorite monster as a kid. He looks like they just raided the closet for all the spare parts that they could find, and then just attached a car brake light to its face and called it a day. And yet, it's one of the coolest monsters, and I love him. He's got a buzzsaw in his stomach, and it works. They got Mechagodzilla from the 2000s, the Kiryu edition. You don't know what I'm talking about because none of you watched the Mechagodzilla films from the 2000s, but that is what he is. He is Mechagodzilla. We'll get to his moveset in a minute because it's brutal. They brought in Destroya, who also is in Godzilla Destroy All Monsters Melee. I actually did not get to see Godzilla vs. Destroya when it came out in the 90s because the 90s Godzilla films are very hard to obtain, and it's hard to find them in the exact right spot, and sometimes you have to buy them like a double DVD or double Blu-ray with like one of the Millennium films. It's a mess. They need to come out with a Heisei collection of Godzilla films. Anyway, Destroya is one of the most vicious Godzilla monsters. Just a giant mutant thing of spikes and wings and stuff. I won't bore you with the entire story of it, except I will. No, I'm just kidding. And then, of course, the big man himself, Godzilla. They specifically pulled the Heisei era 90s Godzilla, who is the meanest looking one in my opinion, because he's got the red eyes and stuff. Man, did they do Godzilla right. I will get to that, but they really, really, as a fan, I was very delighted at how they treat Godzilla in this game. I want these guys to make a Godzilla game, like full on. Not to say anything mean about the kaiju that they came up with. Obviously, they're very good too. But that's just where my loyalties lie. So yes, once you start the game, you can start it in arcade mode, which just lets you go through the whole gauntlet of fights one at a time, different locations and such, 3 difficulty levels. You can also do onslaught, which is a wave of enemies kind of fighting thing, and then you have plenty of multiplayer, couch play, and online play stuff. A free-for-all, which is a 4-player brawl, just like I said, Godzilla Destroy All Monsters Melee. You can do a 2v2 if you want, and then you can play mini-games, such as throwing UFOs at each other and stuff, which is pretty great. That's just called Mayhem, and it's got all kinds of different aspects to it. And then, of course, there's a story mode that you can play through, which... I just kind of played it on arcade mode. But yeah, there is a story mode there for you if you are interested in seeing the story of some kaijus. And every type of game that you played, at least that I've played so far in the single player, unlocks extras. Extras being parts of the soundtrack you can listen to, pieces of lore, gallery, there's badges you can get, like I said, design documents, all that kind of good stuff. Lots and lots of modes. I really, really enjoy that. So yeah, the actual gameplay of it, like I said, it's great because, again, they've taken a note from the Godzilla game on the GameCube in that there are no like unique special moves between the monsters in terms of like button presses. It's very much like in the kind of Smash Bros thing of like, Y is a certain attack. You can push it to do a weaker attack that you can chain together into combos, or you can hold it down to try and go for a power move right away. X does the same. You have a block button, a block combination button with an attack, a jump button, a jump combination, all that stuff. And it's consistent across all the monsters. But the monsters themselves are very different, so they all do different things. For instance, your big bashy guy from, like I said, the Harryhausen monster, talks with his fists. So all his stuff are like different punching moves or punching the ground, like a kind of a DK character in that sense. But whereas Mechagodzilla does not move very well, does not jump very well, but almost all of his moves are guns. So you really, you can kind of strategically use your aiming to like just keep the foe at bay. And of course your guns have a cooldown that you have to use as well. So lots of strategy involved there. And the other cool thing is that as you choose like higher difficulties, your monster's appearance changes. They actually rank up with the difficulty of the game. So you can eventually unlock like these evolved forms of the monsters that are even more terrifying, which is exactly how a kaiju should be. Also in the game, if you land enough successful attacks in a row, you can quadruple the size of your monster by pushing R and L, which gives you a huge attack and defense advantage, and also makes you immune to the stage hazards, of which there are many. There's one stage that features a blizzard that comes in that can actually damage you a lot unless you're, very clever. Like maybe you can hide on the top of a building or something. The levels are very, very good. Like they not only are full of things to like throw at each other and destroy with these monsters, but they usually will feature in like, environmental hazards, interlopers. One of them even has a giant robot who is a neutral that's just going to damage both the characters while you're working. And you can work on destroying that monster first, or you can like try and just work around him. Lots and lots of clever stuff going on there. So yeah. The only thing I can really say about this Switch version, and this is only from the perspective of having purchased the PS4 version already, the PS4 version runs a lot smoother. However, a few dropped frames in the Switch version does not detract from the gameplay, because this is an imprecise game. These are very much like you're moving giant monsters around, and although it is pretty quick, and the screens are just so full of stuff and everything that, you're not going to get all sour over like, like 1 pixel hitbox, like distance or something like that, like in a precise fighting game. So you kind of get to overlook the limitations of the Switch hardware. I feel like they did a really good job in preserving as much of it as they could. But if you are comparing between versions, the PS4 version is a better performer, and I should assume that means the Xbox version is probably going to be a little smoother too. So there you go.
Cool. Well, the game is sitting at $25, which is, again, the new low price for all consoles. What do you think of the game?
Well, I mean, 24 is absolutely a buy it. However, what's even more of a buy it is that gosh darn Godzilla DLC pack. Please buy that along with this game. Just consider the price of the game to be like $35 or whatever. I think it's $10 for the DLC.
Yeah.
It was $14 when I first purchased it, and I did so gladly. It's not every day that Toho like licenses out their characters, and they certainly don't keep them around for long. And this game does look like it was designed from the ground up to maybe eventually not have this DLC available. So for goodness sakes, if you are considering purchasing this game, I absolutely recommend it. I think it's 100,000% great. But make sure you get that DLC too. Just put that in your budget. It's the price of half a cup of coffee.
Cool.
You'll be fine.
Yo, that was a good review. That was well written, funny. I laughed, I cried. That was just really good. Seriously.
Well, like I said, I don't often get to talk about my favorite movie star, so it was an honor and a privilege, even though I had to pay for it twice.
I could tell this one was important to you. I loved it.
Yeah, thank you.
Cool. Well, next up is an email from our friend Andy Sperry. Writing in for Save Koch, developed by Wooden Monkeys, published by OverGamez, released August 2nd on Xbox One, Series X and S, PS4, and PS5 for $14.99. In Save Koch, you play Mafia Godfather, who's basically besieged inside his own panic room. Danger, danger. Someone in the city has decided to take your place, and there's a sleeper mole inside your family who is acting as we speak. Time is running out. You have only 6 days to solve the plot, resolve who is standing behind this conspiracy, resolve the problem, and send the challenger to feed the fish. Let's see. Andy wrote in his review. This is what he's got to say. And by the way, I don't know if it's Save Koch or Save Koch, because it's Koch. I'm going with Koch. So.
Koch is the proper pronunciation, I believe.
I know, but sometimes you never know. It's like, hello, Mr. Koch. It's like, oh, it's Koch. Oh, whatever. Save Koch is a story-rich strategy simulation game full of colorful characters and tough decisions. Developed by Wooden Monkeys, Save Koch is an interesting game that kept me guessing who my friends and enemies really were. The player takes control of Koch himself, a local mafia kingpin in New Kadinsky. An unknown mastermind has decided to neutralize Koch, and it's up to the player to figure out who it is. Along with the mastermind, a mole was planted in your operations, and it's time to act before it's too late. The main game starts out as Koch, recently marked for dead, is quickly moved to a safe location. From the safe house, the player uses clues to study the people surrounding him. Low-life thieves, government officials, symbiotic fungi are a few of the very interesting and creative characters in Save Koch, each with their own motives and backstories. Choose from your crew of thieves, detectives, and thugs to survey situations, torture witnesses, steal and gather clues, and help figure out who is really behind all of this within the 6 days you're given to live, if you make it that long. Save Koch is a high-tension game full of tough decisions that will impact the rest of the story's outcome, making each run-through play out differently. Adult themes, dark humor, and a moody noir soundtrack set the tone for the crime boss's last days. Being new to this kind of game, it was hard to know how to feel about it. The story setup and gameplay seemed simple enough. In a detective-styled setting, use clues to figure out who wants Koch dead. Gameplay was intriguing with lots of information given. The only lull was waiting for henchmen to complete their tasks. That extra time was spent answering phone calls and trying to decide what all the clues really meant, like marking the tough choice to not bitch out the mayor who might call an airstrike on the safe house Koch was in. The multiple endings and alternate choices kept me playing, but if I had never gotten this game to review, I'm not sure it's one I would have picked up myself. There's a lot of information to consume, and my usual choice of fighting monsters was shifted to saving mobsters. I'd like to explore the genre further before recommending it to fans of detective-based games, though at the end of it, I'm thankful I gave this one a try. Official verdict would be a try it, and try it out for yourself and see what you think. Thank you for reading, Andy Sperry. Yeah, this one looked quite unique.
For shame.
What?
You keep saying unique and driving me crazy.
Yo, I ran across the room and unmuted for that.
Someone cares.
Sorry?
All right, back to Chris. Next game is Sonar Beat, developed by Life Zero, published by Hidden Trap, released August 10th on the Switch for $249. This is a pricey one. Your most valuable ally is Rhythm. Your super secret nuclear submarine is under attack, and only the most intense musical defense can save it. Boost your senses and launch a counterattack to the music to save yourself. Chris, what is Sonar Beat?
All right, well, Sonar Beat. This is a unique rhythm game. No, I just read the word unique in the thing. These don't count, by the way, because I'm reading the word.
Now it counts.
Unique. That's fine. It's fine. Okay, so Sonar Beat. So this is an interesting one. This is the frame of it is that you are I guess you're operating a submarine, which famously use a system called radar in order to detect their foes. You recognize radar from films and stuff because it's like that light stick that like moves around, looks like a target. And when something blips, it goes blip, and then you see like the little dot. And then you see it approaching, and you see some guy take off his glasses and be like, "My God."
Now, what is the difference between radar and sonar? Is radar like visual and sonar is audio? I'm guessing.
I believe that's it, yeah. But you're asking the wrong...
Sonar Beat, not radar beat.
Well, it may be sonar then. I actually don't know. I use the words interchangeably because I am but a civilian who plays $2 video games and talks about them on a podcast.
Very fair.
Yeah, very fair. So this game is pretty simple. Looks like it's kind of maybe based on a mobile game. Very much, it's got a strange touchscreen interface kind of deal, but yeah, we'll get to that. I played it mostly on a controller. So what it is that you are playing the dots that show up on the radar screen, or sonar screen, or whatever. This is going to ruin my entire review. Good. And they will show up in kind of a row, and then you are to press them in a rhythm based on how they're lying against the music. So just kind of a different way of presenting the classic kind of, rhythm game thing. The interesting thing about it is that unlike most, if not all other rhythm games, this one doesn't give you a whole lot of lead time to see those notes coming. Kind of a classic move. Like I said, DDR has the notes coming up from the bottom of the screen, and you grab them as they, rake the top of the screen. Guitar Hero is at an angle so you can see the notes coming. This one, they're right there in front of you, and you can see maybe a few notes ahead, and then you just kind of get to be surprised all the time. The other thing is that sometimes the notes are double stacked. This will involve, on the controller anyway, because I haven't figured out the touch control equivalent of this. you have to push the B button to get rid of one note and the B and Y button to get rid of two notes. That's a little bit of a harsh proposition for somebody with a large thumb like me who has to push the B and Y button at the same time with a big old stick right there. That's kind of in my way. But anyways, and yeah, I don't think the game gives you any options to like change that at all. It just gives you calibration options, which, by the way, I did not figure out that I was trying to play a level and the game just sat there and was like, oh, I don't know. Every time I would like push A on the like play on the level. And finally I figured out when I wrote, moved it back to the first song and tried it, and it worked because I hadn't calibrated it yet. Apparently it needs calibration periodically, but won't tell you that. So if you find yourself unable to start the game, try calibrating it and then starting again. This is giving me nightmares of like zebra thermal printers and stuff. Anyways, the songs themselves are pretty good. Here's the thing, though. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention one thing about the actual rhythm combat. So you are playing the notes or double notes, sequences of notes. Sometimes the notes are held rather than simply tapped. Guitar Hero folks and Guitar Man fans, of which I am a huge one, will recognize this as being the drawn out notes. If you miss one of those notes your first time through, you will get a second chance to defeat it because it will get closer to the center of the screen, which the center of the screen, of course, is where you are, and therefore you want to keep stuff away from the center of the screen. So you get a couple of chances to miss before the dots hit your screen and then cause you to lose the match. It's actually kind of clever. Now, the thing about this game, it's exceedingly difficult. Maybe it's just me not getting it. Certainly there are rhythm games I don't get.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely found myself only able to do a couple of levels of this game. It really does evade me. The reason why is because, for one, the dots are in a rhythmic pattern. That rhythm is not always represented in the actual music that is playing. The other thing is that the music, because this is kind of a dark game with like kind of ambient, it's literally about ambience. It's like sometimes the songs are a bit ambient, but they'll kick off after a few minutes and like actually be really good. But yeah, like they still will throw like way too many dots at you for what is essentially just kind of a, just a starting rhythm. And so that kind of threw me off. I was like, well, I need these dots to be in the music somewhere. I guess I can just kind of follow my eyes rather than my ears, which is not something I'm actually all that used to in a rhythm game. I like to listen to it to get my rhythm. But having said, I mean, this is obviously going to be somebody's cup of tea.
Yeah, the good thing is
be warned
it's
if you're
not an expensive game. It's only $249, so it's not a huge investment. It's not a huge risk. Is this something unique enough that people should check out for basically like a cup of coffee?
I would love to find a cup of coffee that only costs $2.49 nowadays. But I would say that if you are the adventurous sort and you want to try something like new and different, definitely, give this one a look, because it's definitely priced to move. Folks who are into rhythm games that are a little bit, more breezier and, have a little bit more of a learning curve, or, just something that just doesn't throw you into the deep end, if it were, as it were, should maybe pass this one over. But I do like the ideas and concepts. It just seems that, the execution's a little off, but it's okay. But yeah, I also need to figure out how to use this thing with the touchscreen, because I'm kind of lost on that.
Your official verdict?
Oh yeah, try it unless you're very brave, which if you are in a submarine, you are, especially nowadays. In which case, go ahead and grab it and check it out.
Cool. All right, one last game to talk about tonight. We are going to revisit EXOPRIMAL, developed and published by Capcom, released July 14th on Xbox One, Series X and S, PS4, PS5, and PC. For $59.99, EXOPRIMAL is an online team-based action game that pits humanity's cutting-edge exosuit technology against history's most ferocious beasts, dinosaurs. Aki, you checked this one out a couple of weeks ago. We figured out that you needed to play X number of matches to unlock X number of things in the game, so you put a little bit more time into it. Has it changed your opinion at all, or are you still like about this game?
Okay, well, first we were told you have to play 15 matches, and after that, a new mode basically is unlocked where it's like 10 people versus a raid boss or something. And I played through 15 and I didn't get shit. Not that I'm extremely upset by that or anything, considering that's one of the few things that I was going to be like, oh, maybe I'll like the game. Of course, it's not there. And then, of course, they did an update to the game, and I was all excited because it was all going to be PvE. And I went to go in to play it, and I looked around, It's like, where the fuck is it? And then I looked online, and they put it at the end of the game. They put it at the end of the game. You have to beat the entire campaign. That requires like 60-something matches.
Holy yeah.
Yeah, and like 20 to 25 hours. Don't want to do that. I just want to fight the dinosaurs and not other people. I just want to kill dinosaurs. Why couldn't they? They should just remade Turok or something, for fuck's sake.
I was gonna say, I just beat Turok this weekend, and there are so few dinosaurs in that damn game.
Okay,
and they are right at the end.
Okay, yeah. That just makes me even more sad because I've never played Turok either. But that was the dinosaur game everyone always talked about. So
how about Dino Crisis? That was Capcom. Capcom should have just remade Dino Crisis.
Sure, True. That one. I know nothing about that either. But they should have done that. At least then it wouldn't have been multiplayer versus bullshit that no
Dino
one liked.
Crisis was basically Resident Evil with dinosaurs.
Oh, see, yeah, they should have remade that. Oh, that would have been great.
That's what a lot of people thought EXOPRIMAL was at first, was a Dino Crisis reboot. But nope, EXOPRIMAL.
Yeah, all the marketing made it look and sound like it was going to be like Left 4 Dead, but dinosaurs instead of zombies mixed with a little bit of EDF. And I was all for that. That sounded fucking fantastic. And then we got, here's a race and then fight other players. And that's not anything I wanted. It's such a letdown. It just makes me sad. And then
I'm guessing there's no like actual big
no
update to the review. It's still just
Yeah, it's still, this game is pretty shit. Yeah. If you can put in the like 25 hours you need to beat the game to get to the PvE thing, you might have a game that you like. But if you've put that many hours into it, you probably already like it. So there's not a point in the other mode for you, I guess. For everyone who hates the current mode, that other mode would have been the saving grace, and they fucked that up somehow. I don't know how, but they managed it pretty severely. That made me sad, and I'm still very much of the opinion, fuck this game. It's not very fun.
All right, well, I guess no big update to EXOPRIMAL then, so we're done. Yay, we made it through. Yay. Thanks everyone for...
We've lost so many people.
And for anyone who's like, oh, are you going to do another... No, I'm not going to put the 25 hours to get to the end game. I'm not going to do that. I'm not willing to do that. That's too much time. So
that's fair.
No more updates, guys. I'm sorry.
That is fair.
Let's go play GigaBash instead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So that is it for this episode. We made it through. Thanks to y'alls for being here. Thanks to Jacob and Dave for coming on and doing their thing as well.
Dave.
There we go. I caught us up on the uniques. There we are.
Thank you. Thank you, Aki.
Yep.
Let's get dangerous.